My wife cheated on me and said we are even now because I cheated 8 years ago as a teenager. I don't know what to do. My wife Hannah looked me dead in the eye yesterday morning and said, I slept with someone else last night. Now we are even. Just like that. Like she was telling me she picked up milk from the store. I am still shaking as I type this. And I honestly don't know if I am losing my mind, or if this is as insane as it sounds. We have been married for 6 years together since high school, and we have a 4-year-old daughter named Lily. I am 27. Hannah's 27, and up until yesterday morning I thought we had worked through our past and built something real together. Here's the backstory that has apparently been haunting our entire marriage without me knowing it. When I was 19, I had an affair. Hannah and I were dating, had been since we were 17, and I was young and stupid, and thought I could handle having feelings for someone else. Her name was Sarah. We had known each other from college orientation, and what started as study sessions turned into 2 months of me living a double life. Hannah found out through Instagram of all things. Sarah posted a picture of her hand wearing this vintage watch that Hannah had given me for my birthday. She saw it in the background of some party photo and connected the dots. When Hannah confronted me, I couldn't even deny it because the evidence was right there. I had been wearing her gift while I was with another woman. The breakup nearly destroyed me. Hannah wouldn't speak to me for 3 months. I begged. I pleaded. I cut Sarah completely out of my life and blocked her on everything. I went to therapy. I read every relationship book I could find, and eventually Hannah agreed to try again. We spent a year rebuilding trust. I thought we would come out stronger. We got married at 21, had Lily when we were 23. I have been faithful ever since that moment. Hannah took me back. 8 years of being the husband I should have been from the beginning. 8 years of working to deserve the second chance she gave me. Last week, my college buddy Marcus threw his annual reunion party. Hannah stayed home because Lily had a fever, and honestly, I almost didn't go either. But Hannah insisted, said I should catch up with everyone, so I went. Sarah was there. I hadn't seen her in 8 years. She had moved to California, gotten engaged, the whole thing. I was polite but distant. We said hello. I congratulated her on her engagement, and I spent most of the night talking to other people. I texted Hannah throughout the evening, sent her pictures of the group, kept her in the loop about everything. But Sarah had posted photos on her Instagram story. Hannah follows a lot of our old college crowd, and apparently those photos made their way to her. I didn't even think about it because nothing happened. We literally exchanged maybe 10 words the entire night. When I got home, Hannah was giving me the silent treatment. Ice cold. Wouldn't tell me what was wrong. This went on for 3 days. Finally, I sat her down and demanded to know what was going on. That is when she told me she had seen the photos. That seeing Sarah's face again, seeing me in the same room as her, brought back every horrible feeling from 8 years ago. She said she felt like a fool all over again. Like everyone at that party probably knew about our history and was watching us. I tried to explain that nothing happened, that I had barely spoken to Sarah, that I had been texting Hannah all night precisely because I knew seeing her would be difficult. But Hannah wasn't hearing it. She said she had spent 3 days feeling humiliated and betrayed all over again. And that is when she made her decision. She went to a bar downtown, met some guy, went to his place. I needed to feel like I had my power back, she said. I needed to know what it felt like to be the one making the choice instead of being the one left behind. Now you know how it feels, and we are even. I cannot even begin to explain how this felt. When I cheated at 19, I was a stupid kid who didn't understand what he was risking. When Hannah cheated at 27, she was a wife and mother who made a calculated decision to hurt me. Those feel like completely different universes to me. But she keeps saying we are even now. That if I loved her the way she loved me, I would forgive her the way she forgave me. She says this was always going to happen eventually, that she has been carrying this wound for 8 years and it finally broke open. I told her this isn't the same thing at all. We weren't married when I cheated. We didn't have a child. I didn't do it to hurt her deliberately. I was just young and confused about my feelings. What she did was revenge, pure and simple. She says that doesn't matter. Pain is pain, betrayal is betrayal, and now we both know what it feels like, so we can move forward as equals. Reddit. I don't know what to do. Part of me thinks maybe she is right. Maybe this is some twisted version of justice, and now we can finally be completely honest with each other. But part of me feels like she just burned down everything we had built together to make a point. Am I wrong to feel like this is different? Should I forgive her because she forgave me? Or is our marriage already over? And I am just too afraid to admit it. I keep thinking about our daughter. Lily deserves parents who love and respect each other. But right now, I don't know if Hannah and I can ever get back to that place. What would you do? Update 1 first. The conversation with Hannah after I read your responses. I sat her down and tried to explain why her cheating felt different to me. I told her that when I cheated at 19, it wasn't to hurt her. It was wrong. It was selfish. But it wasn't calculated revenge. What she did was a deliberate decision to hurt me because she was hurt. Her response floored me. She got this cold look in her eyes and said, "You think I ever really forgave you? You think we just moved past it and everything was fine?" Then she told me something that made my blood run cold. She said that during those first few months when we were rebuilding our relationship, she went through my phone and read every text message I would ever sent to Sarah. Every single one. The flirty ones. The sexual ones. The ones where I was clearly torn between them. She read them all. "I never forgot a single word," she said. "Every time you touched me, every time you said you loved me, I remembered what you wrote to her. Hannah doesn't understand me the way you do. I think about you when I am with her. Maybe we are meant to be together. Did you forget you wrote those things?" I had forgotten. God help me. I had completely forgotten some of those messages because I was 19 and dramatic, and thought I was living in some kind of romance novel. But Hannah remembered every word. She told me our entire marriage has been her trying to convince herself she had forgiven me while carrying around 8 years of suppressed rage. Every anniversary, every Valentine's Day, every time I told her I loved her, she was thinking about those texts. "So don't you dare tell me what I did was worse," she said. "You broke me 8 years ago and I have been pretending to be whole ever since. At least I was honest about wanting to hurt you. The worst part is I can see her point. Those messages were horrible. I was basically having an emotional affair and a physical one at the same time. And some of the things I wrote to Sarah were genuinely cruel about Hannah. I was a different person then, but Hannah has been living with the memory of that person every day for 8 years. But here is what is really messing me up. If she never forgave me, if she has been harboring this resentment our entire marriage, then what have we been building together? Was any of it real? When she said she loved me, was she lying? When we had Lily, was she thinking about those text messages? She says she did love me, that she tried to make it work, but that seeing Sarah again just brought everything back. She says the affair was her way of finally letting go of the anger, that now we can start fresh as equals who have both hurt each other. I asked her if she would have told me about the affair if I hadn't pressed her about the silent treatment. She said probably not, that she would have just carried it like she had carried everything else. So now, I don't know what is real anymore. Have I been married to someone who has been pretending to forgive me for 8 years? Was our whole relationship built on a lie? The other thing that has been eating at me is how this is affecting our families and friends. Hannah told her best friend Emily about everything, and Emily apparently told her boyfriend. And now it is spreading through our social circle. The narrative that is going around is that I am a hypocrite who cannot forgive his wife for doing the same thing he did. I had dinner with my brother last night, and he straight up asked me why I thought I deserved forgiveness, when Hannah didn't. When I tried to explain the difference between what I did at 19 and what she did at 27, he said I sounded like I was making excuses. Even my own family is starting to side with Hannah. My mom called yesterday and gently suggested that maybe this was God's way of helping us understand each other better. She said sometimes marriages need to go through fire to come out stronger. But I keep thinking about what Hannah said about never forgiving me. If that is true, then this isn't about us coming out stronger. This is about her finally getting her revenge after 8 years of planning. The house feels like a war zone. We are sleeping in separate bedrooms. Lily keeps asking why mommy and daddy are sad. Hannah acts completely normal around our daughter. But the second Lily's out of earshot, it is like a switch flips, and she becomes this cold stranger. Yesterday, she said something that really got to me. She said, "You got to be the villain and then the reformed hero. Now it is my turn. I don't know how to respond to that. How do you rebuild a marriage with someone who sees your relationship as a story where she deserves to be the villain for a while? I have been thinking about calling a divorce lawyer, but I am terrified of what that would do to Lily. She is only 4. How do you explain to a 4-year-old that mommy and daddy cannot live together anymore? But I am also terrified of staying in a marriage where my wife has been secretly resenting me for 8 years and needed to cheat on me to feel better. Reddit, what do I do? Is there any way back from this? Or should I start accepting that my marriage died 8 years ago and I have just been living with its ghost? Update 2. I need to tell you what I found out, because this whole situation just became something completely different, and I don't even know who I married anymore. After my last update, things got worse. Hannah doubled down on the "we are even now" narrative and started getting angry that I wasn't just accepting her logic and moving on. She kept saying that if I really loved her, I would be able to forgive her the way she forgave me. Except now I knew she would never actually forgiven me at all. The house was a nightmare. We were barely speaking except about Lily's needs. Hannah was sleeping in the guest room and acting like this was just a rough patch we needed to get through. Like we were renovating the kitchen or something, not dealing with the complete destruction of our marriage. I started seeing a therapist, partly because I needed help processing everything and partly because I was seriously considering divorce. My therapist suggested that before I made any major decisions, I should try to understand the full scope of what had happened. She said sometimes people make dramatic choices when they are overwhelmed, and maybe Hannah's affair was truly a one-time breakdown and not a pattern. So I decided to talk to Hannah one more time. Really talk, not just fight. I asked her to walk me through what happened that night when she cheated. I said I needed to understand her headspace so we could figure out if there was any way forward. That is when the story started changing. In her original version, she had gone to a bar feeling angry and humiliated about seeing Sarah in those photos. She would met some random guy. They had talked. One thing led to another, and she had gone home with him. A moment of weakness. Poor judgment. Heat of the moment decision. But when I pressed for details, things didn't add up. I asked which bar, what time she had gotten there, how long she had stayed. Her answers were vague and kept shifting. Then I asked to see her phone. She refused. We had a massive fight about it. I told her that if we had any chance of rebuilding trust, I needed to see that there wasn't an ongoing relationship with this guy. She said I was being controlling and paranoid. She said the affair was over and I needed to trust her. I said trust was the one thing I couldn't do right now, and that if she wanted to save our marriage, she needed to be completely transparent. She finally gave me the phone, but she was acting weird about it, nervous, like she was afraid of what I might find. At first, I didn't see anything obvious, no strange numbers, no suspicious apps, but then I started looking at her text history from the weeks leading up to the affair. There were messages with a coworker named Dave. The messages started innocent enough, work stuff, scheduling, normal colleague conversation, but they gradually got more personal. Hannah complaining about feeling unappreciated at home, Dave being a sympathetic ear, Hannah mentioning that she and I were going through a rough patch. Then came the photos from Marcus's party. The timeline became crystal clear. Hannah saw those photos with Sarah around midnight when I posted them to my Instagram story. By 12:30 a.m., she was texting Dave, "I cannot believe he didn't tell me she would be there. I feel so stupid." Dave, you are not stupid. He should have given you a heads up, Hannah. I keep thinking about everything that happened between them. I never really got over it. Dave, maybe it is time you focused on yourself for once. You deserve better. The conversation went on like that for an hour. Dave basically spent the night telling Hannah that she deserved to be angry, that I was taking her for granted, that she was too good for someone who would hurt her the way I had. And then, at 2 a.m., Hannah texted, "Are you still up? I don't want to be alone right now. Dave, I will come pick you up." Reddit. It wasn't a random hookup with a stranger at a bar. It was a premeditated affair with a coworker who had been laying the groundwork for weeks. The photos with Sarah were just the excuse Hannah needed to finally act on something she had been building toward. When I confronted her with the texts, she finally told me the truth. She had been talking to Dave for months. Not exactly flirting, but definitely crossing emotional boundaries. He had been telling her she deserved better, that I didn't appreciate her. that she was wasting her life on someone who had already betrayed her once. The night she saw those photos, she was angry and hurt and impulsive. But she wasn't alone in some bar making a random bad decision. She called someone she had been emotionally involved with and asked him to come get her. "I needed to feel wanted," she said. "I needed to feel like someone chose me instead of me always being the one fighting for someone who had already proven I wasn't enough." The worst part was what she said next. "I am not sorry it happened. I am sorry you found out this way, but I am not sorry I did it. I have been dying inside this marriage for years, Ethan. You broke something in me 8 years ago that never healed, and I was tired of pretending it had." She said the affair with Dave made her realize how unhappy she had been, how much resentment she had been carrying, how much of her life she had spent trying to convince herself she had forgiven something she never could forgive. "This wasn't about getting even," she said. "This was about me finally admitting that I never wanted to be with you after what you did. I just talked myself into it because I thought that is what love was supposed to look like. So there it is. Reddit. My wife cheated on me with a coworker she had been emotionally involved with for months. And then she lied about it being a random hookup because the truth made her look worse. And now she is telling me that our entire marriage was her trying to talk herself into loving someone she actually resented. I don't know what I am supposed to do with that information. I have already called a divorce lawyer. I have a consultation next week. I cannot stay married to someone who admits they never wanted to be married to me in the first place. The hardest part is going to be telling Lily, how do you explain to a 4-year-old that sometimes people try to love each other and it just doesn't work? But I cannot keep living in a marriage that was built on a lie. Hannah spent 8 years pretending to forgive me for something she could never forgive. And I spent 8 years trying to earn forgiveness that was never really on the table. Maybe we should have ended it 8 years ago. Maybe this is just the universe finally forcing us to face the truth we have been avoiding. I don't know if I am doing the right thing, but I know I cannot do this anymore. Final update. Hey Reddit. It has been 8 months since my last update, and so much has changed that I felt like I owed you closure on this story. A lot of you have messaged me over the months asking for an update, and I have been putting it off because honestly, I needed time to process everything that happened. The divorce is final. Hannah and I have joint custody of Lily, but I kept the house because Hannah agreed it would be less disruptive for our daughter to stay in the same place. Hannah moved into a 2-bedroom apartment about 10 minutes away, and we have settled into a routine that works better than I expected. The custody arrangement was actually easier to figure out than the emotional fallout with our families and friends. Remember how I mentioned that the narrative going around was that I was a hypocrite who couldn't forgive Hannah for doing what I had done? That narrative got a lot more complicated when the truth about Dave came out. It started when Dave's wife found out about the affair. Apparently, Dave had been telling Hannah that his marriage was basically over and he was planning to leave his wife anyway. Classic cheater playbook, right? But his wife had no idea they were having problems. She thought everything was fine until she found some of Hannah's texts on his phone. Dave's wife, Jessica, called Hannah directly to confront her. I wasn't there for that conversation, but according to Hannah, Jessica was furious and heartbroken. She had been married to Dave for 12 years and had no idea he was looking outside their marriage. Jessica ended up telling several people in Hannah's social circle what had really happened, that it wasn't a one-night revenge affair like Hannah had been claiming, but an ongoing emotional affair that turned physical. Jessica was hurt and angry and wanted people to know the truth about what kind of person had destroyed her marriage. Suddenly, the narrative changed. Instead of me being the unforgiving hypocrite, Hannah became the woman who had lied about a calculated affair and destroyed another marriage in the process. The sympathy she had been getting from our friends evaporated pretty quickly. My brother called me to apologize for suggesting I was making excuses. My mom stopped talking about marriages going through fire to get stronger. Even Emily, Hannah's best friend who had originally supported her, started distancing herself once she learned about the lies. Hannah didn't handle the social isolation well. She had built her whole justification around the idea that what she had done was understandable given what I would put her through. But when people found out she had lied about the circumstances and hurt another family in the process, that justification fell apart. Dave left his wife and wanted to start a relationship with Hannah, but by that point, Hannah had realized that the affair was never really about him. It was about her anger toward me, and once that anger was out in the open, she didn't actually want to be with Dave. She broke it off with him about a month after our divorce was finalized. The irony is that Dave's life imploded in a way that mine never did. He lost his wife, his kids live with their mom most of the time, and his reputation at work suffered when the affair became office gossip. Hannah told me recently that he has been texting her asking for another chance, saying she ruined his life by ending things. "Now, I know how you felt," she said to me a few weeks ago when we were exchanging Lily. "When someone you trust completely destroys your life and then wants you to just get over it." I didn't point out the obvious differences in our situations. I am trying to keep things civil for Lily's sake. Speaking of Lily, she is doing better than I expected. Kids are resilient, and having two parents who are no longer fighting all the time has actually improved her mood. Hannah and I are both committed to co-parenting effectively, and we have been seeing a family therapist together to make sure we are handling the transition in a healthy way. Lily asks sometimes when mommy and daddy are going to live in the same house again, and those conversations break my heart. But she is adapting to having two homes, and both Hannah and I are focused on making sure she feels loved and secure. As for me, I am doing better than I thought I would. I started individual therapy after the divorce was finalized, and it has helped me understand that what happened with Hannah wasn't really about the affair I had when I was 19. That was just a convenient excuse for deeper issues that probably would have surfaced eventually. My therapist helped me see that Hannah and I got together when we were essentially children, and we tried to build an adult marriage on a foundation that was cracked from the beginning. Maybe if we had broken up after my affair and gotten back together years later as fully formed adults, things could have been different. But we were too young to handle that level of betrayal and forgiveness. I have started dating again, which feels strange after being with the same person for basically my entire adult life. It is terrifying and exciting at the same time. I am taking it slow and being very upfront about my situation. Any woman I get involved with, seriously, is going to need to understand that I am a package deal with a 4-year-old. I have also been thinking a lot about forgiveness, real forgiveness. Not the kind Hannah and I thought we had achieved. I think real forgiveness might mean accepting that some things cannot be fixed, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone go instead of trying to force a relationship that is fundamentally broken. I don't hate Hannah anymore. I am not angry at her the way I was 8 months ago. I understand now that she was carrying a wound that never healed, and that she didn't know how to ask for what she needed to heal it. Maybe if she had been honest about never forgiving me, we could have worked through it properly or ended things years ago before we had a child together. But I also understand that what she did was a choice. She chose to lie about her feelings for 8 years. She chose to have an emotional affair with Dave. She chose to use my past mistakes as justification for breaking our family apart. I can understand those choices without excusing them. The last thing I want to say is for anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, if someone tells you they forgive you but their actions suggest otherwise, believe their actions. If you are carrying resentment that you cannot let go of, be honest about it before it destroys everything you are trying to build. Hannah and I wasted 8 years trying to build a marriage on a foundation of unresolved hurt and fake forgiveness. We could have saved ourselves and our daughter a lot of pain if we had been honest about what we were actually feeling instead of what we thought we should be feeling. I don't know if this story has a happy ending yet. Maybe in a few years when Lily's older and Hannah and I have both moved on completely, we will look back on this as the painful but necessary end of something that was never going to work. Maybe we will both find relationships that are built on honest foundations instead of ones we have to pretend are solid. What I do know is that I am not living a lie anymore. I am not trying to earn forgiveness that was never actually available. I am not pretending that love is enough when respect and trust are gone. It turns out that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is admit that love isn't enough, and let everyone involved find something better.